Good morning, guys, from Yonkers Voice. Today we have Jessica Gordon, the Executive Director of South Yonkers Beat. She's here to talk to us about an incident that happened last Friday, the 21st, here on South Yonkers, right next to the post office. She's going to articulate what happened, what led to it, what did she say, what did she mean to say. Could things have been done in a different way? Because Jessica, before we get to that point, thank you for taking the time. Thank you for stepping up. Thank you for contacting and asking us to do this interview so you could articulate and explain to the people of Yonkers. And guys, just before we go further, I want to make it clear that the picture that some people are sending around, trying to make it look like something that it's not, which often happens, had nothing to do with Jessica coming to me and ask for help. Actually, when Jessica came to me to speak with me at the event on Saturday, I had no idea of what was happening. First thing that Jessica asked, Ru, did you see the video? I said, what video? I had no idea. Jessica at no point asked me to go down and engage on her behalf or work to advocate whatever she needed to be advocated. None of that happened. This is all what somebody who wants to make this appear like it's a conspiracy, okay, which was not, okay, that's what was going on. None of that. So Jessica,
record's clear.
The record
is straight.
The record is
I approached you and asked you to cover this so that the full story could be known to the people. Again, I'll answer your questions and address my own personal behavior, but no, there was no we both were not aware that there were protesters outside until somebody else came in to tell us. And then I did what I was instructed by the people that were running the event, and I again asked you, said, well, we obviously should sit down and talk about it and let the people hear the full story.
That's exactly what happened. Jessica, the incident was kind of bad. Certain things were said, certain things were taken out of context. People are twisting certain things in order to create an appearance of something that really did not happen. So let's start with, go back where you came from. I saw the video. That's not what you said. You said, go back to where you were.
Correct. That's what I said. Go back to where you were in your previous location that was safer on the sidewalk.
Let's go back to why were you there in the first place, Jessica? Because you're not a law enforcement. You're not an inspector. You are the executive director of the beat. Why were you there?
I was coming from, we do regular walks through the district to engage with merchants, both my operations manager and I, and we were leaving for the day to go and get ready for the police PBA event that evening. And when I came to the parking lot on Morris Street in South Broadway, I came across the vendor who had a number of safety situations that are part of my job to address, meaning educate the person on what the safety situation is, ask them to change it, to see if to get their buy-in that it is a problem and ask them to change it. And when they don't, it's my job to then include any law enforcement that would oversee the codes or regulations that the vendor abides by or should be abiding by.
So that's a routine. You walk the sidewalks, you engage with the community, you engage with the business around your area, and what's the problems, what can we do? Is that what it is?
Correct. And I engage with other vendors. There have been some other street vendors who have not been in compliance, and we've educated them and brought them all the way to the point of directing them to be a storefront merchant at this point. And helping them understand the real safety issues of what happens on the sidewalk. And so all vendors are welcome here. Any vendor that wants to come and do business, conduct business safely according to city ordinance and according to permit regulations, we welcome that. We welcome to help them grow. I've been part of other organizations before this position that has Rolodexes of hundreds and hundreds of vendors that we've helped start their entrepreneurship and also help grow to brick and mortar places. So it's the message that the South Broadway bid, or even myself personally, are against vendors is entirely untrue. And if you look at the video, again, taking full accountability, and I would like to make an apology, but looking at the video, you can see that my comments were directed to the gentleman who was antagonizing me and not the vendor. I had already discussed the issues with the vendor. The Department of Consumer Affairs was called, and they sent their inspector, and he addressed some of the concerns. The vendor is permitted by the DCA and the Consumer Affairs Department, and also by the Health Department, to conduct business in Yonkers. The issues that I brought to their attention had to do with the fire department, who was also called, and had to do with the police, who were also called, meaning there was an unpermitted generator that was being used in a not a secure way. There was, like the police attended to after I left, the police did show and attended to the issues that I brought to their attention and asked the vendor to move because the sidewalk was obstructed, and what is left of the sidewalk to walk on is broken.
Okay. Now, the generator being, you kept saying it's not tied up. Tied up to what?
The regulations for a generator, according to the fire department, require that you have it surrounded or enclosed by some type of security. It could be caution tape, it could be barricades. Don't quote me on the 3 feet surrounding, but something has to secure that from and bring to people's attention not to touch this. Because if a child walks up to that generator, they can get burned. If anybody walks by and just brushes it, they can get burned. And as you can see, if you see where it is in the video, or if I have a picture, where it is if people are coming out of the parking lot to walk towards the post office, they could not see it at their knees length and brush right by it and get burned.
Okay. So before people start commenting and sharing this video and talking, why isn't Rural sitting with the vendors?
They were invited, just so you know.
Yeah.
And
well,
the owner was invited as
okay.
well.
So as you heard, they were invited, but furthermore, I went to see them yesterday. And asked them, give me your side, your perspective, because very often what we say and what somebody else might hear are 2 different things. And I always give that example. All the time, I talk to my wife, I said, well, but I told you this. Oh, no, you didn't. So what I say and what people hear are 2 different things.
Especially in an emotionally charged, heated situation.
Especially when the situation's already hot, emotional, heated. Things are said that should not have been said. Jessica, if we could rewind the tape and do this over, how would you have engaged?
So, just as a little bit of background, when any vendor that I approach on anywhere on South Broadway, the pots and pan seller, the jewelry seller, the cell phone seller, right? Any vendor that is not permitted, and I know who the permitted ones are because we're part of that process with the city, because we're charged with and we've taken ownership of maintaining this district. So we're aware of who gets a permit in the district. I approach everyone the same way. Here's my card. This is who I am. And I'm approaching you because I've identified these issues that could potentially cause a liability for the city, myself as an organization, the bid, and the property owners who actually fund the bid. So people and I want to just take a minute to say that, who the bid is. The Business Improvement District is a nonprofit organization, not a city or agency, that is funded by a fee that the property owners pay on their property tax. It's called an assessment. It's not an additional tax. It's a fee that they agree to, so that some organization like ours can exist to A, have the ranger team outside to keep the streets clean, B, act as a liaison to the city, to attend to things like infrastructure and broken sidewalks and lights and 25 years of lacking maintenance in the district, and also the public events that we do at Lincoln Park to bring people into the district to support the stores and buy from our restaurants, as well as workshops and development for the merchants themselves. Over COVID, we've helped many of them get to e-commerce. We've helped many of them get online that weren't, set up a delivery type business that they didn't have before. Those type of services is what the bid is here to do. So what I was attending to that day was the liabilities that could occur from that cart being where it was. And one of those liabilities that I unfortunately have to speak about, Ruru, is that the world that we live in today, in case nobody's ever been involved in one before, you're lucky to not have been involved, but I've been in a street stampede because somebody pulled a gun. If somebody pulled a gun in that corner that day, many, many people would have been hurt because nobody attended to the safety issue that was presented by the cart and the broken sidewalk. The vendor was doing nothing wrong. They were there legally. They were permitted. They're selling their goods just exactly the way they signed up to. The location And the specifics of the generator, what were the issue? As a bid, part of the work that we do with the city and other elected officials, we're fighting for $17 million to fix the sidewalk and fix the streets. 2017 was the last conversations that had happened about the greenway and the streetscape. And in 2022, when coronavirus started to break, and I said, I really want to have real programming here. I really want to develop this district. I really want to bring this to more similar to what the downtown bid is doing. And the only way I can do that is to start by the infrastructure itself. We have to fix what's here. Fix the tree pits, fix the sidewalks, repair the streets, change the lighting. That costs a lot of money. It's our organizations that's been working with the different levels of government to get that money. So the same passion and aggression that you saw in that video, talking about the issues and how trying to make that man understand me, is the same passion that I use when I go and fight for the money.
So, some people who I spoke with, they believe, Jessica, that you went there on behalf of another business that probably is being hurt by this street vendor been selling things there. And they called you up and said, listen, this is happening, we're paying taxes, this and that. This guy might be paying taxes, but not as much as us, because we have a storefront. Did anyone call you? Did you went there and act on somebody else's behalf? Or was your reason to be there strictly safety reasons? Because look, I saw the video. The video don't look good, okay? I saw the video. I heard you mentioning permits. Turned out that they had permits.
Not for the generator, but to be there, yes.
Yeah, for the food. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's part of was lost in translation. When we initially hear you talk about the permits, we don't know which permits you're talking about.
There's many.
Exactly. We are thinking that the permits that you're referring to is the permit to be a vendor selling food at that location. When the inspector showed up and asked for the permits, and he asked for a permit with a face picture, I'm not sure, we have no idea that he's referring to the generator. Then he mentions how many people are selling here on these carts. At no point, at that moment, there was a thing said about the generator. So people are thinking, well, maybe Jessica is just giving a hard time to those street vendors.
So I'll answer that. So first and foremost, again, to reiterate, my organization is funded by the property owners who are supported by the businesses that pay rent along South Broadway. That in no way, shape, or forms means that we don't welcome vendors. There are rules that we are trying to abide by in terms of not having the vendor placed or set themselves up in close proximity to a business that sells similar items to what they're selling. In this instance, no business asked me to attend to this situation. They're not selling anything that anybody else is selling within the certain amount of feet. Yonkers law does not quote that footage. I refer back to my experience in New York City that has a specific footage, and it's the only guide that I have to go by. So in that regard, that vendor was permitted by the Consumer Affairs to sell the products they were selling, and they're committed by the health department to sell those products. And the vendor licensing that is given out in Yonkers permits them to go anywhere with safety precautions in place.
What would you have done different, Jessica? If, like I was saying, if we can rewind the tape, and this is happening today, and you show up on your regular walks through the sidewalks, how would you have addressed this issue today?
So first, let me just apologize for the way I addressed it on Friday. I'm usually a much more emotionally intelligent person, and for the last 2.5 years doing this job, that's not the first type of conversation I've been in that way. I've had many people unhappy with me for telling them that they could not do something that they always done, but I've handled it a lot better in the past. I will handle it a lot better in the future. What I would do differently, and I'll discuss some of the solutions that I've come up with for myself and the overall situation, but what I would do differently is try to do the education, but at that point in the conversation when I tried to do that, the vendor, I can't say if it's the vendor's son or if I was told it's the son-in-law, I'm not sure who they are, because in all honesty, Ruru, and I need everybody to understand this, in the almost 3 years that I've worked in this bid, I have parked in that parking lot 60, 70% of the time. I have never seen that vendor there. I would have addressed this situation a long time ago. I'm not the type, and unfortunately it makes me not well liked to be the type to come in and say, oh, it's okay because that's how we've always done it. I need people to understand that the reason why the situation here is the way it is because people keep doing things the way they've always done it. So the people with the money and the decision makers keep doing what they've always done. Nothing. And that's why the street looks the way it does. Because we have to change our behaviors. If I get the $17 million, or we get the $17 million to fix the street, our behavior has to be different to maintain that. If I try to get this to look like Manhattan, we can't be doing the same thing we've been doing before and expect it to stay looking that way. And then ask people to fix it again. So we have to kind of adjust those behaviors. I'm not a proponent of the we've always done it that way if it's not the right way. If we do things the right way, rock on, keep doing it, I'll promote you. Because what would have happened, Ruru, and what I would do differently if I had the opportunity and things didn't go that way, I would have invited that vendor to the park. And I would have had the commissioner of parks say to me, excuse me, miss, what are you doing? And I would have said, Mr. Commissioner, I'm very sorry. I made that decision on a weekend when your office was closed, but they were in an unsafe condition over on the sidewalk at South Broadway, but our community loves them. Because I'm a businesswoman, and I saw the crowd that they were generating, and I saw the crowd enjoying, like, excited that they were back. Because again, I have not seen them there in a long time. Somebody told me that they're, they don't come out in the winter, and maybe that's why I haven't seen them. But for 2.5 years that I've been parking and being, having meetings with my executives and my board and Silvio's, I've never seen them there. Okay. So, but differently, I would invite them to the park, which. Let's get to the solutions, right?
Have you attempted to speak with them after that incident to explain, apologize, or do whatever you think was the right thing to do? Maybe listen, maybe the way I addressed it was wrong, or have you spoken to them after that day?
I have not spoken to them since then. I've spoken to who I'm not sure is involved in the ownership of the card, or a friend of the family. I've spoken to our council people. I've spoken to the city council president. I was not able to. They were invited to the meeting today. I think they wanted to come with representation, and they couldn't. I welcome that conversation. That conversation is still to happen. They're not unwelcome here. And part of the solution is going to be for us to provide them with a safe space to do business while they're on South Broadway. So speaking to them and asking them what their schedule is to come here, we'll figure out a way. And if I have to get a permit for them to be somewhere, they'll have a safe space to do business here.
How does that work? A street business vendor has a permit. Do they have to be at a fixed location, or do they have a range that they can move up and down within a feet, 100 feet forward, 100 feet back?
Rules are very vague in Yonkers, Ruru.
So how can you enforce if the rules are vague?
You can educate. You can ask people to buy in. You can offer solutions, right? So I tried to educate them. I asked them to agree with me and move to a different location. I did not tell them to leave South Broadway. I asked them to move, like you heard me, go back to where you were.
Yes.
Right? Or, like I said, I can try to provide them with a safe space to do business and maybe a public space. I've always, since I've been here, wanted to be able to...
would probably be very good for the community. And the community that are watching this video, they are upset, Jessica. They are upset at you, okay, that is saying that you called them illegal, okay, which actually, I saw the video days after that happened. I heard what you said. I heard when you said that go back to where you were. I heard you talk about possible illegal vendors, not illegal status. Those are two different things. Just as an example, if there is a mechanic, a body shop across from my street, and I believe they are operating illegally, I might call the city and say, look, I suspect they are here violating OSHA laws and be here illegally. That does not mean that whoever owns the shop is illegal.
No, not at all. If you look back at the record, I spent a lot of time, even during coronavirus, hours on the park trying to work with the census to get people counted. I've organized a number of voter registration drives with the council people and other elected officials from this district, because the reason the streets look this way and this conversation happened to begin with is because people don't vote. So there are many, many legal people who live in this community who are still not confident in voting or afraid to vote. And that's why we don't get the right funding for this community. So even that was misconstrued in the video when I said, do you vote? It was to educate him to say, please vote for the candidates that will bring us the help here. That's why it looks this way. So I'm the person that goes to the meetings and takes people on walks with the district to say, regardless of the voting status, regardless of their immigration status, regardless of the census status, people pay taxes here. And they deserve to have the money come back to their community. And for too many years, it has not. And so that's the same message that I was trying to get to him, but it was the wrong timing.
So I guess the message was lost in translation. Do you speak Spanish?
Very little.
Very little. Look, I also have a problem that maybe you can relate to it. Even though lots of people think that I'm Spanish, I am not Spanish.
I'm not either.
Okay? I'm African, born and raised in Africa. The Spanish that I know, I learned it here. So when I try to communicate in Spanish, even though I communicate in Spanish well, there is certain things that I miss, and people might take it in a wrong way. Okay, even though there was no intention or malicious behind what I said, but people take it in the wrong way.
If anybody has communicated with me in that regard, when I have to speak Spanish, my famous line, which people laugh, but I always say, yo hablo español un poquito y muy malo. Okay. And people go, no, muy malo. So I did make the mistake of trying to communicate that way, and it did get lost in translation. Ruru, I'm 100% Sicilian. I was born of a Sicilian parents. I was raised by Puerto Ricans. I married a Jamaican man. I have Vietnamese people and my nieces and nephews in my family.
A white Jamaican man?
No, a very tall, dark-skinned Jamaican man.
So you're not racist?
No, not. I'm probably the most culturally diverse Caucasian that you would come across. And to make it a little bit, help people in the community understand a little bit more where I come from, both of my parents were addicts. So I am a person of the streets, of a hard upbringing, who has been around many cultures my whole life. I don't see color, my kids don't see color, and I'm hoping that the mixed generations that go forward, they won't see it either. Look, but I would like to take a minute just to publicly apologize.
Please, emphasize on that, Jessica, yes.
The vendor in no way, shape, or form deserved this light to be shined on their business. I apologize immensely for the children that were present that day. And even the gentleman who I first spoke to, which was one of the only people who spoke English there, even in his face that I saw that he felt that I was just another one of those people coming to stop his family from making money. That's not what I was there to do. I have a job to do. It doesn't always get me friends, but I'm hoping that it will make changes that people will come to appreciate, including the fact that, and you can verify this with anybody sitting there are 0 rats in Lincoln Memorial Park. And I've had a number of uncomfortable conversations with people about not feeding the birds in an effort to get rid of the rats. So, unfortunately, change does make people very uncomfortable, but it's necessary for us to progress and move forward. I will absolutely take accountability for my actions. I did not mean, like you said, emotions were high and logic was low. I did not mean any of those words. I did not take any actions to make it so that that vendor could not come back. As the community could see, the vendor was back the next day. And they corrected the safety issues that were present the day before. Nobody is trying to stop that vendor from doing business here. But I will take the time to offer a few solutions. Number one is I'm going to offer a workshop from the bid that teaches vendors and the community what the rules of vending on the sidewalk and the safety precautions that we're trying to address on that sidewalk. Because again, in that instance, if somebody pulls a gun, a lot of people are getting hurt. And unfortunately, there are too many instances of people pulling guns that responsible people have to attend to that. I will rely more heavily on the authorities. If I see something that's being practiced unsafely, I will notify the correct authorities and let them handle it. What I should have done differently that day is try to educate the vendor, and when it didn't work, report it to the authorities and go about my business. I allow the man to antagonize me and get me to lose my cool is something that I will review in my head over and over and over again, probably for the next 6 months. But it will not happen again. It has not happened in the past, and I am immensely sorry, like I said, for the children that were there as well. The other thing I want to say on record, and I wrote this down because it's an important part of the conversation. Okay. So again, when the situation occurred, I did exactly what the protocol and policies of the city are. I called the police department, I called the Department of Consumer Affairs, I called the fire department in that order. I in no way called anybody for a favor, right? We are a two-person operation here at the bid. We don't have the capacity to offer favors and to ask for favors and pay them back. I didn't call a friend. I didn't call any politician that supports me. I didn't do any of that. I followed the correct city protocols of how to address this exact issue. You call the fire department for the generator. They make the rules for that. You call the police department for the sidewalk because they're the ones who enforce pedestrian walkways. You call the Department of Consumer Affairs to make sure that the vendor has their valid health department license and their right to sell and have a vendor permit in the city of Yonkers. No one else was called to handle that. Evidently, when I stood there waiting, and that's what gave the man time to keep harassing me, I stood there waiting for the police to come. Normally I leave.
Well, the guy that was talking to you, I heard it. I heard the words that he was using. Words that should not be used. But look, just like you said, the emotions were high. Okay, he was upset, and I have to be honest, Jessica. If I was there, because some people ask, where is Ru Ross, Yonkers Voice? Well, Yonkers Voice cannot be everywhere 24/7 7 days a week. Okay, but if I was there, probably I would also film. I would choose different words. But like you said, emotions were high. My street vendors, I support the Latinos. I've been doing this for 17 years. I go business after business and promote the business. Probably you saw a few. Some pay, some don't pay, but I'm 100% behind them. But yes, we have to operate within the law and within the guidelines. Otherwise, the place will turn into a zoo. It just has to be that way. Okay.
Where we're going, that's where we are.
Yeah, and speaking with, he agrees with that as well. He said, yes, I had my permits. I was working within the guidelines, and I recommend any street vendor that wants to do the same thing as I do to do so, but within the guidelines. So he understands the guidelines. What people were not understanding is how the situation was addressed.
Where it got to, because he wasn't, the gentleman didn't record the beginning. He only recorded once the situation got heated, which isn't that what gets the likes?
No.
And gets the shares?
No. Look, sometimes I'm in places filming and people, well, why didn't you film before? Well, because I was there, but I did not know that things were going to escalate.
Understood.
So I start filming when I think that now there is a reason to film. Just because people are talking, why am I going to film? But as soon as somebody takes a knife, a fist, now there is a reason to document.
Understood.
Now there is a need. Is there anything else, Jessica? Is that anything that you'd like to bring up so people can understand? I think your apology is clear. You accepted that things got out of control, and things were said in a way that they shouldn't have been said. And I would say that from both sides. From you, because I'm not here to defend you. I'm not here to attack you either. I'm just here to give you the platform where you can articulate what you think or how you should address or should have addressed this situation. That's why I'm here. And if the owner, the daughter, the wife wants to come on Yonkers Voice and talk from their own perspective, more than welcome. Reach out to me and I will be there. So is there anything else, Jessica, that...
So I'd like to address social media because over the last couple of days, both myself and my children and the person that works here have received multiple threats from across the nation, which, again, those people are just acting out of emotion the same exact way that I did. Mm-hmm. But I want them people to understand that we are human beings, right? So me as a human being, that day I acted as a human being and not as a professional, and I appreciate to be treated as a human being and for people to stop the harassment of me and my kid online. Number one. Number two, I wasn't hiding from the social media of the bid. I turned the social media of the bid off because what people fail to understand is the impact that their comments have on all of the businesses in this district that we represent. And I didn't feel like my businesses should be impacted by my mistake. So that's why I paused the social media of the bid, because the comments and the threats and the people that were being tagged, including elected officials from every level of government, including businesses that had nothing to do with the situation, that's why I did it. Nor would I ever respond to any type of that antagonizing, like I normally don't, even in person, as this instance is one of its kind. That's why the social media was attended to that way. It's my responsibility to promote and protect the businesses, whether it's on the sidewalk that's broken or on social media. So that's why. I didn't do it to hide. I came to work. I was at the event on Saturday after the incident happened. I'm accountable for what my actions are, which is why I will do things like work with our hopefully soon-to-come resident of South Broadway, Maria Alfaro, and Que Paso Latinx to figure out mechanisms to handle stress that way or approach situations that occur, because this occurs all the time. People approach me this way all the time. Others just don't know because I don't respond that way. The last thing I'd like to say, Ruru, I have to make a public statement. That day I was wearing a t-shirt that represented the Rough Rider organization. My actions and behavior that day are not in no way representative of the Rough Rider organization and its long history in this city. I currently hold no roles in the organization. The bio that was shared from my personal social media was outdated. It stated that I was the Speaker of the House and the business manager of the Rough Riders Yonkers chapter, which is a position that I no longer hold. I asked that there be no impact to the Rough Rider organization and all of its entities, which people don't realize it's not just a motorcycle club. There are many parts of the organization that are out in our community doing great things, supporting people in low places and high places. And I hope that my actions have no impact on the work that they do, that they've done, or that they'll continue to do. And with this statement, I'm publicly resigning my membership from the Rough Riders. Some solutions that I've come up with. I will, in the future, report hazardous situations to the authorities that enforce those rules, and I will leave it to them to handle. I will not engage in any conversations like this again. If I see that my education efforts are not being received well, I'll walk away and let other people handle it. I'm going to offer a workshop to the vendor in the community to help them understand what the rules are of working on sidewalks and why I'm so passionate about it. And I'm also going to strengthen our efforts to get the funds needed to fix the sidewalks and the streets. So these conversations don't have to happen. We can operate safely without obstacles, without workarounds, without extra permits. We'll be able to work safely. And I will not be resigning as a result of this situation. Everybody makes mistakes. There's lessons to be learned in our mistakes. I'm learning them. I'm healing. I'm not a healed person. I think that's for a lot of people. But if I resign and discontinue the work that I've been doing to get it fixed, nobody's coming behind me. Just like nobody has come in 25 years, and that's why it looks that way, I won't walk away. Right? I started it. I will finish it. And when people get to enjoy the fruits of my labor, I hope they can understand where I was coming from.
Now, I have a comment here from somebody who says, okay, you apologize to the kids. What about apologizing to the vendors? Is this an apology to a specific group, or you have anything to say to the vendors?
Oh, no. All vendors, specifically the Garcia family, have my sincere apology. Like I said, this type of light should not have been shined on their business, because even though they appear to be the victim, and they are the victim in this video, it shows, even though I was speaking to that man, their business is highlighted. That's not the light I would ever bring to any business, any vendor. Like I stated before, I've been part of other organizations that have helped many, many vendors come from an entrepreneur position into a brick and mortar. Every permitted vendor, licensed vendor, is welcome on South Broadway, has my sincere apology and my welcome to come and do business in a safe way anywhere they'd like to on South Broadway. As long as they're not competing with the businesses that pay rent here, whatever the city ordinance is what we will accommodate. And like I said, for right now, because I cannot accommodate the Garcia family in the location that they would like to be in, I will work to get them to go to the park or another location that is safer for everybody. I've even challenged some other council people to see what they could do about fixing that particular sidewalk right there, or moving the poles to make it as much as safe as possible for them to stay there, because that's what the issue is, safety.
What's next? How are you going to... Look, we have this interview here, you apologizing. Some people will accept the apology. Some people will say, nah, you apologizing because you got caught on a video and you have to address it. Okay, I'm here just trying to articulate what people are seeing. I'm not here to defend you. I'm just gonna make it clear. Okay, you didn't pay me for this interview. No money was asked. You here because you wanted to address the issue.
My behavior as
Your
well.
behavior. But what will you do next with the street vendors in your area? Are you going to try to go to each one of them, talk? Are you going to try to have maybe a vendor get-together meeting, maybe in a park where you can go there and talk to them? What are your plans, Jessica?
So, in all honesty, Ruru, I don't have that many street vendors on South Broadway.
You don't, okay?
I don't have that many. And again, I've never seen the Garcia family in that location in the couple of years that I've been here. I don't know what other location they were in. I don't know if it was the winter time too, but I park in that parking lot a lot. So I am going to develop and perhaps pay a consultant to come in and educate vendors on the sidewalk situation that we have currently, what we're doing to fix it, how they can operate safely here. And we welcome the community to come into those conversations too, because that person in the video, as you could see him trying to debate with me, just regular people are not aware what it takes to run a city, right? They don't think about broken sidewalks and getting lawsuits, or people, just your community getting hurt because the disrepair of where they live. They don't think about that unless they work there. So I welcome any vendor to come in and do business on South Broadway, as long as they're licensed and permitted and conducted according to the rules. I will offer vendors I have 2 vendors right now that were on the street that are going to have a storefront. We'll do a grand opening for them. We'll make it clear to the community that this was a vendor that started outside and has grown their business enough to get into a storefront, and we've helped them get the right licenses and insurance that they needed, and they'll open as a store. So I'll continue to do that work because it's the unseen work. This is what's seen, right? The unseen work is that the reality is vendors are welcome here. We work with them. We help them get the right licenses and permits if they don't have them. We help them get to a store if they can grow. That's the reality.
Okay. Well, we have here a comment from the actor, not the actor, but the person who actually, the author, that's what I meant to say, of that video. His name is Miguel Montenegro.
Okay.
This is his comment. Will you be harassing other street vendors?
I wasn't harassing the street vendor. I was harassing back him because he was harassing me. So I wasn't harassing the street vendor. If you watch the video, I don't say anything. I don't say anything else to the vendor in the whole video.
Now, guys, one thing that we want to point out: many people are venting, they're outraged by the way the situation was handled by Jessica. Some people are also talking about the way that the people who were filming were articulating that opinion. Culeros when they were dressing the police officers, and certain things. Yes, it's very easy to look outside and point out. Okay, if we think that something is wrong, and something was wrong, let's not address it by doing another wrong. The lady who works here, I don't know if it's your assistant, okay?
She's the operation manager.
Or the operation manager. She's been receiving harassment call, threats, and so is Jessica. Well, guys, if something was wrong, as many of us, including I, agree that something was wrong, and if we want to fix it, let's not do another wrong to fix a wrong. Let's address it. Okay, let's talk about it. If somebody has to apologize, so be it. Let's look at the things in a clear way. Definitely, let's not harass others to fix what we call an harassment. Now, I have to address this because I saw a post saying that last Friday, or I think Thursday or Friday, I went to a New Main in Park Hill, as I go to many small vendors, street vendors, and try to promote their business. Somebody said that what happened with you Friday was a conspiracy, was a setup ignited by me when I went to those ladies. Well, guys, remember, I'm not going to mention the name of the person, but there is people that live in a conspiracy world. They think the police department are tracking them. They think there is a white van from the FBI across the street. They think there is this. They think there is a satellite up there circulating Yonkers to see where this person goes. None of that exists. Those are little voices that you are hearing. Let's talk about things and let's look at the problem and the solution. Let's deal with facts. And here on this show, we are dealing with the facts. Jessica accepted that she addressed the situation in a way that should not have been. Things could have been done differently. Now, I'm not saying that she's right, she's wrong. That's on you. I'm just here to give her the platform where she can articulate her point of view, as I do to many others. Now, reaching a conclusion is on you. What you're going to feel, what you're going to think, it's totally up to you. All I can do is give Jessica the platform to speak with you. Now, Jessica, to conclude, we've been here for almost an hour. To conclude, is there anything that you want to finalize, tell the people?
No, just reiterate what you said about allowing the Garcia family to, sit down with you if they feel like it, but also they've been invited to come to the office and discuss safe options to do business on South Broadway, as well as, get access to the public spaces in case we can't provide a safer option.
Somebody's asking me to please ask the question. So, guys, the thread is going very fast. I might miss another question. Tiffany Alfaro, please post your question so I can ask, but do it quickly because we are about to conclude this interview. So let's just give it an opportunity to ask the question. Let me...
So again, just while we wait, I want to make it clear that the Department of Consumer Affairs was the first call that I made, and they were the people who sent the inspector. And that can be validated through the records of the Consumer Affairs Department. I didn't call any local elected officials or any county officials to help with the situation. I tried to call the people who handle what they're supposed to handle. Just like I don't call the police for homeless people or emotionally charged people. The right people were called in the right order, and I want to make that clear. It's not a problem that we have all the time, so it's not something that has to be attended to all the time. But when it is a problem, it'll be attended to in the right way. I'm not from the experience of backdoors and favors, and no. There are ways to get things done, and I've learned that of the city of Yonkers very quickly as I've come here, and that's the way I'll continue to do it. So I just want people to be clear on that the right agencies were called in the right order, and they attended to the situation and cleared up whatever was wrong, even after I left.
Somebody's saying, why weren't you asking the man who was filming you who she was voting, who did he voted for? Maybe you want to tell them why you asked that question, Jessica?
I didn't ask him who he voted for. I asked him, does he vote? So that I could then ask him to, which it never got to, but that I could then say, please vote for the people that will give us the money. That's why we haven't gotten the money. That's why the sidewalk is this. He mentioned himself, as you can hear, that the sidewalk has been this way his whole life. And I know that because even the property owners that I work for, they tell me that it hasn't had any infrastructure improvements in 25 to 30 years. So we need the people of the community to vote for the candidates that step up and say, we're going to fix South Broadway. And don't vote for the people that don't say that. So that's what I was saying. I didn't ask him who he votes for. I don't care who you vote for. I want everybody to vote. Because when you vote, you get counted. And the reason why the streets out on South Broadway look the way they do is because we are not counted enough. That's why.
So, well, making her point in every interview that I make with elected officials, I also emphasize on vote, 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 because the person that you're going to vote for is the person that's going to represent you at many levels. So I was not there. I was not inside Jessica's mind. I was not inside the people that were there. I'm just broadcasting this so you guys can hear directly from Jessica, her point of view, why she said what she said, if she had to apologize, which she did. But it's at the end of the day, it's up to you. My job is this. Okay, so guys, thank you for watching. Okay, thank you for sitting with us, Jessica.
Likewise,
I hope things smooth out. I hope people will understand. I hope this interview will help others, understanding what actually happened. Okay, Jessica, this is the question that we were waiting for. From Maria Alfaro. Jessica, they have been there for years. I'm really trying to understand. I'm really trying to understand how this was the first time you noticed them. From this incident, we learned that the other street vendors had complaints about how you treat them. As a leader of South Broadway Beat, I am not sure how our community can move forward. We trust in you. Our community is afraid as you instilled fear by threatening the Garcia family that their permits will be revoked. This fear will be only trickled to other street vendors and other businesses on South Broadway. How do you plan to move forward with our community?
So I am employed by the property owners that are paid rent by the businesses on South Broadway. The efforts and actions and activities that have been done thus far for those are not reflected in this incident, and this incident doesn't take away from those, right? I have not had many interactions with vendors on our street. As I just said to you, we don't have many. There are a few that I have had interactions with that are now going into a store. So there are not, obviously the negative travels a lot farther than the positive, and that's fine. But I will move forward in the same way and offer anybody the opportunity to come and do business here. I did not mean what I said. I was just like, in Maria's words herself, my emotions were high and my logic was low. I did not mean, the Garcia family is in no way in jeopardy of losing their permits. They're in no way in jeopardy of not being able to do business on South Broadway. On the contrary, I'm looking for a safe place for them to do business, as well as anybody else who wants to come. I would welcome the conversation and make a schedule of when they want to come to keep everybody safe, right? I in no way intend to take any backdoor action against the vendor. I have no problem with other vendors coming and doing business safely. I support our businesses that are in the storefronts along South Broadway in different ways. I will continue to do that. I will continue to welcome new businesses and perform in the way that I've performed up to this point, where, like I said, this was the culmination of many of those people antagonizing me that way, that I just lost my cool in this one, right? There are people both that I work for and with and outside that see how I interact with people. I treat people the way they treat me, right? And for the most part, the people of this community have treated me well, and they get my respect in return. If somebody approaches me disrespectfully, I have the right to stand up for myself. Do I have the right to be unprofessional like I was in this regard? No, I don't. And that can cost me personally, and that's something that's a learning lesson for me. But moving forward, I will move forward exactly the way I have in the past. I support our businesses. I welcome any legal and permitted vendor and licensed vendor to come into the district in accordance with the city guidelines. Nobody has stopped them from doing it before. They've just been asked to be in accordance with the rules. And then when they disagree, the authority handles that, because we have to stay safe. And what people don't understand is part of the permitting process is the police being aware of what's happening on the streets, as well as accounting for the pedestrian space that's there. So once that is handled in that way, these conversations don't happen.
Okay. So guys, I see some questions here. I will address the question if your question is presented in a polite and respectful way. If it's not, you might take the risk of being removed and banned from the page. So you choose how you want to present it. I have no problems with disagreeing with me, disagreeing with her, condemning her, supporting her. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem when people presents questions in a disrespectful, vulgar way. So it's on you. You want to do that, you can do that. As soon as I see that, then I will remove you from the page and ban you permanently. Ask the questions, but present them in a way. This is a question from Jose Maria. He wants an explanation, Jessica, on what did you mean by a bunch of illegals?
Vendors.
I know what you meant. They don't.
Vendors.
So,
No. I married an immigrant. I have no problem with. I have no business or concern with the immigration status of anybody around me. I want everybody to be safe and healthy and live happily. The illegal reference was about vending and the generator that was there. The vendor has a permit to be a vendor in the city of Yonkers, to sell what they're selling. They have the right license from the health department to serve food. They had an illegal generator.
You know there is a petition going on to ask for your removal.
Understood.
You know that?
I do.
So, anything you want to say?
I'm not a city employee. I am the director of a nonprofit organization that reports to a board who is aware of the situation and is going to help take steps to, like I said in our solutions, rectify both how I approach and handle these situations going forward, as well as the conditions that created this situation. So I don't plan on resigning because, like I said, I have unfinished work to do here that if I don't finish it, it hasn't been done in 25 years. Who's going to make it happen?
So, Jose Maria, you ask me to ask her about where you came from. So, if you look at the video, it's on a 5 minutes, point 19. You can clearly see and hear that what Jessica said is, go back to where you were. That is what she said. Now, there is people, some people are taking pieces and make it appear that what she said was something else. Not that I'm justifying, and I have clearly said, and she's right here, that I don't support the way she handled it. Could have been done differently. But because I don't agree does not mean that I'm going to say that she said things that she did not say. The guy who does that is the other guy. I heard she saying, go back to where you were, and I heard her saying that were illegal vendors.
And Ruru,
Turned out not to be.
I'll take accountability for my insensitivity or my lack of thinking about the way those words would be received. Absolutely easy to be interpreted that I said, go back to where you're from. I would never say that. I married my husband so they wouldn't make him go back to where he was from. I would never say that to anybody. I meant the location where they were prior on a bigger sidewalk. I did not mean back to... This, if you look at the census data, this community is made up of people who came from somewhere. There's no way I would tell any of them. And I've actually been the person who has come to Lincoln Memorial Park and removed other people who had said that to our community that sits there, that they should go back to where they come from. We don't tolerate that. I don't say that. I don't tolerate that from other people. That's not what was said.
Well, guys, this is it. Thank you for watching. Feel free to share this interview. Feel free to articulate your position, to let us know what you think. Criticize, support, it's on you. I'm not asking you either way. Your opinion is your opinion. I'm just giving you a platform where she can talk to you. Now, it's on you to accept the apology or don't accept the apology. I spoke with Mr. Garcia yesterday. He's also invited to come on the show if he chooses to. If his daughter or son want to come on, they're welcome to. If they choose not to, well, that's their prerogative. It's on them. But we're here to give the community a platform where their voices can be amplified. Once again, I want to make it clear that when this incident happened, people were sending me videos, but to post. But those videos were 10 seconds videos without any description whatsoever. I had no idea what those videos were about until Saturday, when someone sent me a link to the entire video, which was posted. So please, guys, if you see something that you want to create awareness, you want me to know, include an explanation. Send me the full video, because we don't want to put videos of 5 seconds in order to generate a certain reaction. We want people to see the whole thing. That's why when I film, when I go to the scenes, I cover the entire scene. You see everything, so you can generate your opinion based on everything, not on 10 seconds of a video. That's the reason why I did not share that video when I first received it, because I had no idea what was going on.
That's your exact words to me on Saturday.
Yes.
People have sent me snippets. Some of them were clear. Some of them I'm not sure what they were. None of them have an explanation.
Yeah. I could see you, with your back, but at the moment, I did not know it was you. I realized it was you after.
I had my hair done.
Yeah. So, guys, thank you for watching. Do what you have to do. Jessica had the platform. She explained. If
any other questions you get, Ruru, feel free to refer them to me. off the air, and I will gladly respond to them.
Well, the video is running now. There is a lot of questions. I'm sure that you have things to do, but if you have the time, you want to go there and address the situation, do so. I know that I understand the problem when people don't like certain things that perhaps I do. I cannot keep everybody happy. Okay?
I cannot either.
Okay, I tried, Jessica. Okay, I have tried.
I'm the agent of change here,
Yeah.
and people don't like change.
Yeah, I have tried to keep everybody happy, but I can't. Okay, my job is very simple and very clear.
Excuse me.
Give the community a platform where they can speak about the issues, where they can talk about problems, and possibly find solutions for those problems. Keeping everybody happy, it's a task that I gave up many years ago.
But this is a solvable problem, so we'll
Exactly.
solve it.
So let's go now on the proper direction. Hopefully the people watching will say, okay, maybe it was a bad day. Maybe she handled
It was a horrible day.
Yeah, things in a way that should not have been handled. But let's give it another chance. But that's on you guys, okay? My job,
I respect other people's opinions as well.
my job was to bring her here on the show. She asked, so she can talk to you guys and explain from her point of view, apologize, and hopefully you guys will be understanding, because let me tell you guys, none of us, me, her, you watching, we are not perfect. Some point in our life we did something that afterwards we said should not have done it. Okay? Right. And we apologized to someone, and someone accepted that apology. Perhaps you want to put that on a scale and then do what your conscience dictates.
And if anybody has any questions, otherwise what the bid does, because a lot of people are not aware of it, a lot of people don't even know what a bid is, we're open to that as well in a respectful manner. Once things cool down a little bit, I will turn back on the social media. Our phone is on, but again, my operations manager is quite intimidated right now.
Jose Maria, I guess you did not understand what I just said. Perhaps that's the reason why you didn't understand the video. Because I have told you a couple of times that she didn't call anybody illegal. She said illegal vendors.
And generator.
And generator. That's what she said. That's what she meant. But you stuck on that she was calling people illegal. That was not what was said. So perhaps you want to, because I can see you can read. My question is, can you understand what I'm trying to tell you?
Because even if they were illegal people, they were legal vendors. They had a license to vend in the city of Yonkers. So their personal status is irrelevant to me. I don't even have to ask their name. The DCA came and asked for their permit. They had the right permits to sell what they were selling and had the health department license as well. So their personal status, and any business person or community member's immigration status is irrelevant to us.
Bueno, mi gente, para terminar esta entrevista, pienso que todos entendieron, aunque nosotros hablamos inglés, pero estoy viendo por los comentarios que todo el mundo entendió. Afuera, a la calle, ayudar a nuestra gente. Vamos a soportar nuestros amigos latinos que tienen negocios pequeños, street vendors. Vamos allá a comer, soportarlos, porque hay gente trabajadora, hay gente que le da duro para seguir adelante. Muchas gracias. Hasta la próxima. Guys that are watching, thank you for watching. Don't forget to go out there, support our local vendors, street vendors. It's not my job, it's not your job to ask if they are legal, illegal. We don't care. Okay, just support them. Whatever legalities they have to comply with, it's on them, it's on the city, not on us, people from the city. Let's just support them. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to share. I appreciate you here. I appreciate your support. Don't forget, Yonkers Voice is on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Follow all of our channels. Once in a while, we might have a problem with Facebook. Guess what? That is not going to put us out of work. We go on Instagram. If we have a problem on Instagram, it's not going to put us out of work. We're going to go on YouTube. So my suggestion is follow us on all of our social platforms. Yonkers Voice is without a doubt, the biggest, strongest, and more credible social platform in Lower Westchester. That's why we have the membership. We don't have the half a dozen membership that probably includes 20 or more fake profiles. This is real. The members that follow us are real. The opinions, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not, but they are real. Thank you. Until next time. Thank you, Jessica.